Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another edition of My Faith with Homer and Pip. The Spirit led my good friend Steve, the Homer True, to this endeavor, and we hope and pray that you will be impacted on your faith journey in a positive way. My name is Tommy Pippins. We are produced by Brett Young, and so privileged to have Brother Will Perry with us today. Homer, you always tee it up, and I will tell you that Brother Will has been up since, I don't know what hour, but I know around 5 or 5:30 he had completed prayer. And his prayer, something that really manifests itself in reaching out and helping the underprivileged. So with that introduction, and thanks to Will Perry, take it away, Homer.
Well, it doesn't change. It gets old because my first question never changes. Other than my curiosity to hear your story of my faith, but also a growing curiosity to always wonder when and how someone chooses to start it, at what age or what experience. So my faith, however you wish to start.
Okay. In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. Again, I want to thank you for allowing me to have the opportunity to spend some time with you and your team and your viewers and listeners. I really appreciate that. This is the first time I've done such a type of podcast or Zoom with a group like this, and with this particular venue. I really appreciate it. But my journey goes back to the 1970s. Back in high school, and at 1975, 1976. My family was we're all raised and born here in Wisconsin, and I'm the oldest of all the children. And so, as the elders go, you kind of keep an eye on what the young kids are doing and seeing how they're doing and trying to be a good role model for them. So, but in 1975, 1976, I was just, again, graduating from high school, at Old West Division High School. And I came across an article from the Muslim Journal at the time. And so an in-law introduced that to me back in 76. It was called the Muslim Journal. That was at that time with the transition with the Nation of Islam splitting into two different groups. And so I came across the information from the Muslim Journal and started reading that material in the Muslim Journal. Now, I was an avid, Christian and going to church. My family were raised in the church. And so I spent a lot of time in the church in the 70s and so on. And as a teenager and as a middle school kid, but something switched and something happened with reading the Muslim Journal back in 1976 or so, reading the Quran and reading the Hadith, tradition of Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. That's where I came to know of the religion of Islam. And so in reading their article and reading the Muslim Journal, that's really was my first introduction at about 17 or 18 years old. That was my original introduction to Islam back then.
What made you want to do that?
I don't know. Just my curiosity as a youth, looking for something that appealed to me, spiritually, that appealed to me intellectually, that appealed to me in my overall whole developments. And so for me, that's what I ended up coming across. And I didn't know anyone else other than my in-laws at the time, because right around 20 years old or so, I was married. So that my in-law introduced me to the Muslim Journal, and so I just began to read on my own. That was primarily my first introduction to the religion of Islam. And so I didn't get involved with the Nation of Islam. I didn't get involved with some of the other ideas and sects regards to Islam that represented Islam. I didn't get involved in any of those. I went straight to the source, reading to the Quran and to the Hadith. So it was just out of curiosity that led me to come to the religion of Islam back in 1976, introduction in 76, and I just kept on reading from there. And so there wasn't there at that time, there weren't any mosques here in the city of Milwaukee. That's way before you had cell phones, way before, the communication was simply just a landline or a conversation with a person you ran into. But that was it for me. I didn't have a place to go and pray, learn how to pray, to learn the Arabic language and so on. So I spent most of my time just reading on my own in English about the religion of Islam. And so that was my journey that started back in the 1976 and moved forward up into 2022. And I'm still learning. I'm still a student of striving to be a student of knowledge, so to speak, and just trying to practice my faith to the best of my ability within my own limitations as well.
Since you had a faith history in your family, what touched you spiritually?
You know, my connection with the Creator, understanding what my relationship and my duty is to my Creator, made all the difference in the world. And that for the Muslim is paramount and fundamental to our faith. And knowing what our relationship is with our Creator and what our relationship is to the rest of relationship to the creation as well. What our duty is to one another, what's our responsibility, and what the rights are of our neighbors, what are the rights of our children, what are the rights of our wives and our and family members. So we have a duty, we have a religion that's a complete that completes our daily life from the time we get up in the morning to the time we go to bed at night, and everything in between. So this was a way of life that was complete for me, that offered me all the answers in regards to how I should conduct myself in doing business and going to school and achieving, specific goals. And whatever it is in life that I'm looking for an answer for, I was able to find that in Islam. And so that's why I stayed. I stayed and looking for guidance there, and looking for the ways by which I can govern myself and making decisions and moving forward and being of service to the community. So that's where it all started. Again, being the eldest of all my siblings, I was always being of service to someone else, always looking out for and taking care of the needs as an older brother should in the needs of his siblings. And so, and it goes back even further than that, the fact that my mother was a single mother at the time. And the man whose name I carry told her that, the child that you're carrying, even though it's not my child, I'm going to give him my name and I'm going to take care of him. And so prior to me being born in my childhood, I was raised by a person who was not my biological father, but one who saw the responsibility and stepped up to the plate and took care of me and my mother and my other siblings that came along as a result of their marriage. And so I have that instilled in me, and I've seen that from day one. A person who would accept me for who I am, regardless of the circumstance of how I got here, and whatever comes that way, he stepped up to the plate and took care of me up until the time he couldn't do it anymore, until the time I became a grown man to take care of my own affairs and the affairs of my family. So with that history, with that guidance, that role model from my father and the man that raised me, that seems to be where it started, because he was of service to me and my mother at the time when nobody else would. And so I must have gotten some of that from him. He was a United States Marine. He was down in the Korean War. So I ended up going into the Marine Reserves here at Fox Company down here on Lincoln Memorial Drive. So I spent 76 to 82 in Marine Corps Reserve here. And from there, you got the discipline, you got the order, you got the structure. And so from then on, as a young man, I've always carried that. And so that moved into, Islam, because Islam is a religion of structure. It's a religion of order. It's a religion of decency and peacefulness. But I can be able to combine my life experience and also my religious experience. Not to mention, I was here as a firefighter here in the city of Milwaukee. I started back in the class in 1979. So 79 to about 2007, I worked as a firefighter here in the city of Milwaukee. So being of service from the beginning, as the elder in my family, the oldest in my family, to serving in the military here, to serving on the fire department, to being of service here at the Milwaukee Islamic Dawah Center. And so I've been here, being of service here to the community, maybe about 25 years or so. And so that life of service apparently has been something that's been with me, from the very beginning.
I know you've lived this without even asking you, because I'm part of the issue, and that is people don't know the Muslim faith. When someone meets someone like you, what's the first thing they should think when you say, I'm Muslim?
Well, you know what? The creator of the heavens and the earth will put that dignity in a person who is truly about their faith. Now, and I can't say that for everyone, but you are what people appear to see in you is who you are generally. And if you're genuine about who you are and your faith is strong, and that you're sincere about what you're trying to do and being of service, a lot of that is done without even saying a word. You can see the look on a person's face. You can get a feel for their body language. You can get a feel for their personality and their conduct, whether this person is someone who is peaceful. And the creator of the heavens and the earth connects the hearts with people. you get the first impression. Like I say, you take a snapshot of me on a picture, and you take and say, oh, what is this guy all about? He looks like he might be, is he someone that might be potentially dangerous or whatever? Is he somebody who I'd be concerned about? Does it strike a sense of fear in a person's, in an individual who doesn't know me, would just happen to see the red beard, African American with a kufi on? A lot of things come to mind originally, but you know what? It's the creator who decides on how people are going to respond to and how we conduct ourselves, whoever we are, whether we Muslim or non-Muslim. People will see that honesty, that sincerity, that dignity in a person just by their character and how they conduct themselves, and then if they're sincere about their worship and so on, that'll be seen in self. So I've had more curiosity about my beard being dyed, and that's a tradition in Islam, is that the Muslims, we separate ourselves and we're different from Christians and the Jews and other religious groups. And so one of those traditions is when we get a little gray, for me anyway, and a lot of men they'll put the henna dye in their beards. I lost it on the top, but I've got a little bit, on the bottom here. And so for the tradition, for most Muslim men, when they get a little gray, you'll see that they'll put a little henna in their beard, depending on what color you like. For me, I'm getting even more gray, so it's starting to lighten up a little bit. But sometimes it get a little bit darker. But you don't dye it black. You simply dye just a little henna in the beard. So that's again another trademark of the Muslim man, and that he should grow his beard if he has the ability to do so. That's the tradition of all prophets and messengers. They all were men, and they all had beards.
What's at the top of the list? If someone's a Christian, they believe in Jesus Christ. If someone's a Muslim, what's the foundation of their faith, your faith, so people can understand it? Because I think the ignorance in most cases, and I would include myself, is I just don't know.
Yeah. That's, in Islam, the foundation of the religion is that we worship one God, that he has no partners, he has no deities, he has no associates. And if you take a look at the first commandment, if I'm not mistaken, the first commandment tells that have no other God before me, or something along that line, that you don't have or associate any partners with God. And so that's the fundamental similarities that particularly with the Christian church and Christianity and Islam, is that we're told and directed to, worship the one creator. And so, and with that understanding and know that Islam, we respect every single messenger and prophet that came from Adam to Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, Prophet Isa, Dawood, Musa, Ibrahim, may Allah be pleased with all of them. So we recognize all of them, and it's required that we believe in all of them, and we follow and respect all of the prophets and messengers that came. And that's, again, it's a hallmark of the religion of Islam, is that we believe in all the prophets and messengers that came. They were divinely inspired, and they all gave the same message.
What is the most incorrect thing that you have observed that people say or feel about Muslims?
I guess the first thing that comes to mind is that thinking that it's a religion of violence, thinking it's a religion of anger and causing harm to others. But in fact, the religion of Islam, it says the religion of peace. That's part of its English translation, is one who submits to the will of Allah, the will of the Creator, and the one who, in Salam, in English is peace. So it's one who submits to the will of the Creator, and one who submits to the guidance and said by Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him. That is what Islam, that's one of the core values of Islam, believing in the Creator and following all of his prophets and messengers, particularly the one and the last messenger, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him.
How has your faith changed in all these years? Or maybe it hasn't. Maybe it's the same as when you decided to become a Muslim.
Yeah. Well, it changed for me in that I became more active in my community and being more of service in my community, because I'm doing it now. And hopefully I've always done it with the idea of pleasing the Creator, of being of good stewardship, and of being of good help and resources for others and helping to lead and guide others by my example to the best of my ability. I'm not a prophet or messenger. I'm just a regular Joe, regular guy who's just trying to do the best he can for as many people as he can while he's got the time. And as long as I have the strength and the mindset to be able to do that, the rest of my life is committed to being of service to the community, whether it's Muslim or non-Muslim, whether it's Christian or Jew or whatever. Because I have a lot of my associates that cover the spectrum as far as religious affiliations are concerned. We work with the Jewish community very, particularly with Brother Pardeep and the I forget the name of the organization right now. It slips my mind. But working with Micah and other groups that have worked with the Interfaith Council. Yeah, the Interfaith Council, working with groups like that have all types of religious-based groups. And we work together solving, challenges and issues in our various communities. So there's a lot of overlapping that takes place. So there's not any restrictions as to being able to work together with folks outside of our religious faith. So because the human concern and the human tragedy and some of the human issues that affect each and every one of us, from our children to our families to us individually, it goes across the board. And so we all have to be working together and solving some of these problems and challenges in helping to move our communities, helping to move humanity forward.
Have other members of your family also changed to the Muslim faith?
No, and sometimes that's just the way things go. The other prophets, messengers, and people that came before us, a lot of times they're the only members of their family who accepted Islam or came to Islam or recognized the fact that their way of life is different from their family members. And so no, I have children, I have grandchildren, and none of them are, and even my mother's still alive, and none of them are Muslim. But we in the religion of Islam, it's important for us to maintain and cherish our relationships with our kin folks, with our family members, whether they be Muslim or non-Muslim. They have rights as well. So we don't isolate ourselves from our family members who did not accept Islam, who have not reverted to or going back to Islam or anything. No, we were obligated to make sure we maintain our family ties. And we all do that to the best of my ability. I was just on the phone yesterday. My mom, she lives here in Milwaukee, and making sure that I see her and the video chat or stop by and see her at least every week to make sure she's okay. And if she needs something, I'm always in constant contact with her. The same thing with my son. So and all my family members who aren't Muslim, I reach out to them all the time, and we have a very open relationship and communications, and we have mutual respect for one another. So it's been good, and I've been able to benefit from them, and they hopefully benefited from me as well.
For those of us to learn, this sounds like but is there a book or what's the best way for people to best understand your faith?
There's I'm looking around the office. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I have a number of English Qurans. And the Qurans that are in English is the Noble Quran. I have a lot of them in Arabic here, but they can come down to the Dawah Center or any masjid for that's concerned, because we have like books like the smaller ones like this one that are in English. But the Quran would be the best resource for explaining itself, because it has commentary in there and it's all in English. And you can go to ISM, El Quran, El Huda, the Ringan Masjid. You can go to Kenosha Masjid. You can go to come to the Dawah Center. And so we have enough opportunities for in Brookfield Mosque, up in Brookfield. And so there are a number of locations around the city and around the state, up in Madison to Green Bay to down in Racine. So we have mosques all over the state of Wisconsin that offers an opportunity for folks to visit. You can go online, take a look at our website and so on, and search for yourself in the privacy of your own home and look up, what's going on in your local community with the masjids that are here to see what they're doing. And if you've got any questions or anything, feel free to reach out to whoever you come in contact with, particularly the folks that are on staff at the various places of worship. Feel free to simply to stop by or just, try to contact them by phone. So we're always open for the most part. Just about 24 hours a day. At least we're accessible by phone, because most of us who are involved with community service and community work and so on, we're always on the phone or available to folks who have questions and ready to respond to those, when need be.
I would assume there's a sense of pride. You mentioned there was none of this when you go back to the 70s, and now
Right.
it has evolved in this way from other people like you. What's that story that speaks to the growth just by the existence of what was not here back then?
A lot of that took place, early on, because there were Muslims here. There were particularly like African Americans, and some maybe the folks from the Middle East were here, but they were like in the universities. They were kind of scattered about. So when folks were coming in, they just didn't connect with one another. They didn't know each other, where they were located and where they lived. So it's by the will of the Creator that folks kind of came together. And once folks came in from overseas, once folks reverted from one religion to Islam, they began to find one another. Some of those reunions, some of those unions took place in churches. Some of those took place in homes, in offices, and on the university. A lot of folks that came in as students in university, the UWM and Marquette University. A lot of folks connected there. Some of the healthcare professionals, like doctors and so on, and engineers that came here to work, they ended up finding one another in the area of profession. And so eventually folks found one another, and folks settled here in the city of Milwaukee, primarily in the city of Milwaukee, here on the north side and in the near south side off of 13th and Layton, and here the Dawah Center, ISM, Islamic Society of Milwaukee. They're about 35 years old, right on a corner of 13th and Layton. And so they're the main masjid here in the state of Wisconsin, actually right there. And so we've been in existence here about 30 years or so. So it's been a trajectory of growth, just by the fact that folks have dug in. They've decided to live here and work here, and be good citizens here. And now their families have grown, and now we're somewhere, I don't know, over 25,000 scattered around the state of Wisconsin, but the majority are right here in the city of Milwaukee, Milwaukee County, and Waukesha County.
All right, I'll go to Tommy, but now I'm going to try. If you asked me now what the number one thing I should know about someone of the Muslim faith, I would say the foundation starts with, we are here to help others. Am I close, or how far off am I?
That's solid, because we're here to be of service. No matter. I mean, human beings are our brothers and sisters to one another, in that we are here to serve one another. And the test that we go through is this test to see which of us is best in deeds. So we're going through the process, the journey of life, and that's being tested on a regular basis, to see if we're actually doing what we say we're going to do, what our faith says, and what our faith, regardless of what faith you're in, whatever your faith practices are we actually putting those practices to work? And how we do that is being a service to others. So that's the bottom line for the Muslim community, in that we're responsible for being good citizens. We're responsible for being of service to others in humanity. So that's our everyday life.
Tommy, it's all yours.
Well, Brother Will Perry, you've been wonderful with Homer's outstanding questions in educating us. And one of the great facets, if you will, of the Muslim faith is you're so disciplined. I mean, again, I referenced at the top, you were up hours ago praying. The Christian faith and the Catholic faith, we have rosaries, we worship Father, Son, Holy Spirit. It's about relationship. What does prayer and worship look like for you, please?
Well, it starts, the prayer is a foundation of one of the foundations of our faith, and that every Muslim around the world is required at a minimum to pray 5 times a day. The first prayer in the morning comes in just before sunrise. It's called the Fajr prayer. So that morning prayer comes in, and it changes, and it changes with the lunar time schedule, lunar time. And so sometimes it's a little earlier, sometimes it's a little late. But this time we're in the blessed month of Ramadan. We start praying at about 4:30 in the morning. So all the mosques around in this geographical area, in this time zone, we're all up usually about 4 o'clock in the morning every morning, preparing ourselves to pray. But this time right now, again, in the month of Ramadan, we're up even earlier, because we want to get in and get more prayer in the morning before the actual prayer starts coming in. So we're up early in the morning, say 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We're up praying, asking for mercy, asking for forgiveness, asking for guidance, asking for whatever it is we need in our lives, and what we don't, we have no idea what we need. just asking the creator of the heavens and the earth to bless our families, to bless our communities. And that's every single Muslim around the world is doing the same thing. You'll see folks are, are up early in the morning and they're getting a little tea, getting a little something to eat just before we start our fast, which is right after the sun, right just before the sunrise. So we have to make sure that we eat and have a little something to make sure that we have enough energy to go on for the rest of the day, because we're not eating and we're not drinking all the daylight hours from sun up to sundown. We're restricted from eating and drinking. So it depends on what time of the year it is. Some days are longer than others. Some days are warmer than others. So we go along our regular activities, even with not eating and not drinking. So we're striving and focusing in on our prayer and our worship and making reminders of that. Our responsibility is to take care of our daily duties, but our responsibility, and also even more so now, is to our Creator, in worshiping our Creator and making sure we're focusing in on that. And when things kind of get a little rough, we remind ourselves and remind others, this might be getting a little rough for me, so I'm fasting. And so we focus in on that, and we go through that daily work and daily process. Some of us might run out of gas a little bit by the middle of the day, so we have to sit down for a little bit, maybe take a little nap, or just sit down and rest and get ourselves, recharged again. Again, I went through that with the fire department. I was out there, firefighting up in EMS. I was a paramedic officer there, and so whatever you had to do, you had to do. Duty calls, 911 calls come in, no matter how tired you are, whatever, duty calls, you got to go and respond. So that sort of attitude, that sort of way of life has been with me for a long time, being one of discipline, being one of structure, being one of service, all that, with the military and with the fire department. That just, is the whole ball, is the all in one ball there, so to speak, in my life experience and my religious travels and journey as well. So it's all kind of on the same little track, just a little bit different, but seems to be leading me in the same direction.
Brother Will Perry is our guest on My Faith with Homer and Pip. Our producer is Brent Youngkin, and what a privilege it is to have him here. The beard looks great on you. Let me say that first of all, Will. And you talk about, to be distinct from others, but yet as I listen to you and we talk about mercy and relationship, you're all about unity, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, that's a way of life that's consistent, with the Muslim faith, and you have to judge individuals not by what they profess, but what the religion says. And if your religion says, your way of life says you're one of peace, you're one of being open, you're one of being of service, then you have to practice what you preach. And that religious faith and action is critically important for us when we're reaching out and doing dawah, or doing, showing the religion and explaining the religion to others. That's what that's all about. And so for folks who've never had a chance to talk with those who are Muslim, and it's critically important to have the understanding and know what the religion of Islam is all about. And that's part of the fundamentals of this religion, is being a religion of inclusion, being a religion of openness, being a one that's informative as to what the religion is about, and always have to take the opportunity to share that information, to share this way of life with others. Because if you don't know, how are you going to know? If you don't ask, how are you going to know? If you don't have that interaction with others, how are you going to know? You have to, use the opportunity when it presents itself, to listen to and have some dialogue with others. And that's critically important for us.
Anyone who has faith, we talk about joy regardless of circumstances, and peace that our higher power wants to give us. I sense both in you, Will. Is that accurate? Peace and joy.
Because I try to strive for that, Tom. I really, really do. And that, knowing that that to the best of my ability, for me as an individual, to the best of my ability, I'm doing what the Creator has instructed me to do, and it's been demonstrated by the prophet and messenger. And peace and blessing be upon all of them. The examples are set in how we should conduct ourselves. And if we want to have peace and tranquility in our life, be of service. If we want to have the things that are spiritually and emotionally and physically good for us, be of service to others. Regardless of what the circumstances are, always understand and know that you're doing it for the right reason. You're doing it for a higher purpose. You're doing it for the divine, to be respectful of one another, to be open to one another, and to share your religious life and understanding with others, so that they too have a better understanding of what the religion and way of life is supposed to be. And that's what we were created to, because we're all different, but those differences makes us curious to one another, to bring us together as to, what is this way of life about? What is this person about? That's part of the creator's design, in that he made us different so that we'll get to know each other, made us different so we'd be curious about one another. So that part of human nature is to be curious of one another and what each other are going through, what makes you tick, so to speak.
Hmm. Now, as Christians, we talk about Jesus Christ, Lord and Savior, and being all about reaching out to the poor. Will Perry, you
Yeah.
do a whole bunch, don't you? Please talk about your ministry, because you've educated us on your faith, but your faith in action is what I'd really like to get into with you, so that people understand what a light you are shining in the city.
Well, I mean, and with all humility, I've got a lot of folks around me that are helping me, and most of them are not Muslim. Most of them are from the various churches around in our community, and so I'm just simply a small catalyst for that, to help the folks in need in our community. Now, we're located at 5135 North Teutonia Avenue on the north side of Milwaukee. Milwaukee is considered to still be the inner city, I guess. And so for the past 17 years, just on the food pantry, our food pantry has been going on for about 17 years or so. And it started from in the back of our minivan, and trying to, picking up food on the Feeding America, to right now we're doing about 25,000 pounds of food a week. And last year, we distributed over 1 million pounds of food, and to maybe 25 or 30,000 families. That was impacting maybe 100,000 people. And we've been doing that, at least more than 10 years at that capacity, at that rate. And so when folks come on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, Tuesdays in the morning and Wednesdays in the morning, Tuesdays about 11 o'clock in the morning, and Wednesdays we have our food pantry it's a little earlier, about 9 o'clock in the morning. And so we're open to everyone. The only thing we want to know is what's your name and how many family members are we trying to serve. So we try to keep track of how many individuals that we serve. We don't care about the zip code or where you come from. We have folks that are coming from everywhere, from the far south side, to some folks that are coming from out from Waukesha, to the east side of Milwaukee, to the north side, far north side of Milwaukee, depending on a person's circumstance. Sometimes folks get down on their luck, they don't want to go to the neighbors, because they don't want the neighbors to know that they're having a little trouble. And so we see folks from all over the city and county from time to time that need to get a little extra help. And so we're open, our doors are open to whoever comes. And so the folks are very, very good and patient with us, as we have a line that's going from our place all the way a block or two away around the corner from, on Villard, from Eggert Place to Villard. So we have folks that are being patient with us, and we're patient with them, trying to put together a nice box of food product for them. And we're thankful that we've been able to be of service for a long time, for a lot of people, and particularly, with children. And so we make sure that we have, working with Feeding America, that we have a balanced diet for folks, and something that's usable for them. We don't have a storage here, so we don't keep any of the food here to store it. Once it comes in on the trucks, it's put outside, or it's put in a place, and they put in a box. We put it together, and we distribute it to the best of our ability, and all of it's gone by about an hour and a half or so. 25,000 pounds of food is usually gone pretty quickly. And so folks look forward to that. And we're thankful that we got a pretty good reputation around the city for being of quality and quantity of product and services to the families who look for this as a way of means for shoring them up in between paychecks, and in between this week and next week.
Was this a vision that you had, Will? When did this come to you? When were you moved by your creator to go forward in this manner and help so many?
You know what? No, I didn't start this piece particularly. It was one of the sisters and one of the doctors was a member of our community. Probably 25 years ago or so. We started a little food pantry in the basement, and Sister Manira, and I don't know the brother's name, Sister Manira, who's no longer with us. May Allah be pleased with her. In that, they started the program down in the basement of our mosque. It was we had some foodstuffs down there, some non-perishable stuff that, from beans and pastas, canned goods and so on, that we would distribute to families here, because some of our members of our community had grocery stores. So they would bring some of their product here, or folks would donate some product from their homes and put it in our basement. We'd have a storage down there. And so we just passed food out to people who needed it. At that time, it was primarily just the Muslims who came in to receive the food. So we didn't have much contact in the way of the surrounding community. We had to grow from that. And so what we did, we had a meeting once, and one of the Sister Kissa, suggested, hey, let's take a look at Feeding America and going back to, the food pantry, because that's something we could service we can provide. And so, like I said, it was just 3 or 4 of us, and we'd go down to Feeding America down on 17th and Fond du Lac, go into on their shop floor, and we had the carts there, and we had my minivan, and that was my retirement vehicle back in the day. So we used my van and all whatever we could in our cars, brought it back here to the mosque, and put them together in the old banana boxes. And we started out with maybe 10 or 15 or 20 people, and folks heard about us. And then once they saw the quality and the quantity of food that was coming on, then, that it took off from there. And now we're in trucks, and we've got Feeding America has shown their appreciation in the volume that we're doing. They even gave us a truck. So we've got a 27-foot truck out here. That's a refrigerated truck to make sure that the meat that we carry, the produce that we carry, and the cold stuff, and the dairy items and so on stay cold. And so we're traveling all over the place now. I mean, we've gone from Milwaukee to Madison to Racine to some of the other communities and some of the other faith-based groups. De La Fuente, I think it's on the south side. We've been a little bit of everywhere. And so we've spread out, and we've been able to, and we work with other, religious-based groups, some of the church groups and so on, some of the synagogue over here on, I can't think of the name of it right now. It's like in Sinai, that's over here on Whitefish Bay in that area. So we're working with them. And so everybody wants to help to be of service. And so it's just one ministries. I think that's another group. They've got a big warehouse over here in Glendale over here. So we're picking up food from them. They're getting it from Amazon. So they're bringing it over by them. We go pick it up from them. And so it's worked out pretty well. It's a pretty little dynamic little situation going on here. All of this trying to be of service to folks and working together, for the greater cause. So it's been a big mover for us around here in making sure that folks get fed and have some decent food on the table when they need it the most.
You mentioned the word retirement, but I think to your last breath, you're always going to be loving and serving people in this manner. And I want to kick it back to Homer, because I guarantee he's got at least one question or two for you. Brother Will, I even read about solar energy. Could you talk about that, please?
Wow, the solar energy piece. We've talked about that, putting some solar panels on the masjid here, and so there's a couple of efforts in taking a look at doing something like that. We just haven't pursued it very far, because we're so busy around here that we would run short when you have looking for staff and volunteers. So you're wearing all the hats, and you're trying to make sure we can do as much as possible with the little resources that we have here, and the number of volunteers and some of the staff that we have. But we've looked into it, Tom. But because we're right here on the creek, right off of Eggert Place and Teutonia. So the creek runs through here, and it's facing the south. So it's a great opportunity for us to take advantage of some solar power and that sunshine, and the creek that's running right next to the masjid and so on. So that's something we're pursuing. We just haven't moved forward on that at all.
So you're cognizant of the creation, and that's something that you want to be very respectful of. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. We just had the neighborhood cleanup with the I think it was the state or the city that put that together, neighborhood cleanup. We had that, and so we're very cognizant of making sure that our environment is clean and respected. So again, taking folks out doing some fishing. That's one of my side things with the hobbies that I have. I like to go fishing, so I like to take some of the family members out, out to outdoors with our beautiful state we have here. A lot of water here, and a lot of opportunities to appreciate the outdoors. So a little camping, a little fishing, a little archery. So we're all working outside and enjoying ourselves, and the beautiful Michigan down there. So we love the shores, Lake Michigan, trying to catch that that steelhead or that brown down there. I'm still working on that one. I mean, they're pretty elusive, but I know they're there. I know they're down there, but I just haven't caught one yet.
Yeah. All right, Homer, take us home, my friend.
Yeah, I got a couple. Given all you've done, what's your dream? What's ahead?
Wow, you know what? We have a large refugee families here, a large population. Well, most of them are not refugees anymore, really. They're Muslims who came from other countries outside of the United States. And so we've gone there. They've been here. Some of them have been here for maybe 25 years now. So they're citizens of the United States. But still, we don't have a place, at least on this side of town, where we have a school for their children that most of them go to public schools, in the public schools. And so that's a real rough transition for some kids because they want to stay focused on the religion, but also get the secular education as well. So for me, having a place of worship, a place where the kids can come and learn their religion, but also get a strong secular education, which is taking place in a number of places. One's on the south side, ISM. I just saw an email just the other day. They're looking at over 1,000 students in their school over there. And Masjid El Huda, which is way on the south side in South Milwaukee, and they have a school over there. So we need something here on a larger scale here on the north side to accommodate our families here. So for me to have a facility that would accommodate our children, our up and coming generations, that from K4 to 12th grade, to have a facility of that nature where the kids can have a place to pray, have a place to play, and have a place to learn about their religion and also their responsibility as citizens. And and have a healthy upbringing, because there's still families coming over from other countries as well. So we want to have an opportunity for them to be able to come to a place where they can learn about the United States and our culture here, but learn about their way of life and continuing on that relationship with their creator and being able to, as they make that transition here in the United States. So right now, just having a facility that can accommodate some of those families that are coming here, have been here, and those are yet to come, particularly when our children. That's one of my dreams, is to have a facility here on the north side of Milwaukee to accommodate those up and coming generations.
I'd love to ask members of your family, what's changed about you? What have they noticed that's been different about you when you changed your faith, or when your Muslim faith became such a huge part? What do you think they would say, or maybe what would you say that has changed the most?
I think they'll say I'm more patient and more compassionate and more giving and more forgiving than I was prior to that. But see, again, it goes back, to my early childhood, the person whose name I carry, and also working with them in the military, but also with the fire department, because as a firefighter and paramedic, you have to be patient and compassionate with folks who you don't know, you see for the first time. So when that 911 call comes in and that person's never seen you before, particularly when back in the 70s, we were somewhat still segregated here in the city of Milwaukee. So the folks that lived on the south side, for them to see an African American firefighter to come into the living room, that was a strange thing at the time. And then you're coming in there, you've got the white jacket on, or you got your firefighter gear on, and now this person's come to your rescue, come to be of service to you. That's a whole nother mindset. And so for me, it's taught me to be of service, to be patient, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter who you're serving. It's another human being that's requiring your expertise and your training to solve a problem and to help them. And so that's just what I've done pretty much all my life. And though my family would just simply say he's just more like that. He's as far as they know, I've always been that way, and even more so right now, since being in the religion of Islam, is that I'm more who I was all along, and that's a better thing too.
This is a question the whole world should ask. Anybody who learns of the faith as you have explained it in your life, and then observes the Middle East, where it would appear the Muslims or a group want to kill everyone and are the most violent people in the world, accurate or not, it doesn't seem possible or doesn't make sense. What's your answer?
We have to judge the people not by what they profess, but what their religion says. And if the religion of Islam tells you that we're a religion of faith, of peace, We are one who worship the Creator, the one who has to follow all the prophets and messengers, the one who sets the example and supposedly sets the example for others in our way of life and how we conduct ourselves and how we interact with one another. The circumstances that happen somewhere else other than United States, those circumstances, lend to themselves as to what caused all of that. And as human beings we have some differences and we have some issues, but we shouldn't be ones that are being oppressive of one another, because oppression is a worst form of torture for a person in any type of circumstance. So we have to be we are ones too who don't oppress others. And it's not an easy thing when you talk about the Middle East, but yeah, that's all. Most of that, and a lot of that is just propaganda. A lot of that is propaganda because they don't want folks to work together. There's a case that that having Christians and Muslims and Jews work together is not always to the benefit of folks who don't want that to happen. Folks don't want us to have this sort of conversation. Folks don't want it to have that the two of you called me, as an African-American male and as a Muslim and as a one who reverted back to Islam, thinking this must be something based on violence, something that's based on, hatred. But that's far from the truth. That is far from the truth. And hopefully you'll see that and realize that and can sense that in my conversation with you and the work that we've done here. Is nothing like that. It's only, folks can be guided by, the media, can be guided by, the propaganda, because, fear is something that works in favor for some folks, and it works to the detriment of others. So that sort of fear and misunderstanding is something that, we should all have to strive to live our lives to combat that. And it's just unfortunate, but that's an unfortunate reality, that fear is something that's a big problem for us in around the world. So we'll see what we can do our best to combat that. Right in our own.
Make you feel terrible.
I mean, it does, but unfortunately, that's human nature too. That's human nature too. And we understand and know that, we're just human beings. We're not perfect. We fall short of what we profess. We don't do as we say. We just do a lot of talking. So we don't practice our religion, our way of life. That we look to shortcomings in others instead of looking at shortcomings of ourselves, and starting within instead of starting, outside of ourselves and looking and see what others are doing. But each and every one of us are going to be held accountable for what we do, for the time that we're giving on this earth, for the lives that we're given, the resources that we're given. We're going to be held accountable for that. And did we, in fact, spend all our resources, all of our time, our effort, our money, our energy, all of our capacities to the benefit of the other human beings? Will be held accountable for that. This body of ours is only designed to last for so long, and we're only designed to be here for so long on this earth. And so at some point in time, we all know we're going to be held accountable. So our book of deeds, whatever it is we've done with our resources, whether it be our physical resources, our monetary resources, or whatever talents and abilities that we have, we're going to be held accountable for that. And so is that going to be, if we take a look at our own selves, we can reflect on our own lives and say, what type of impact have I leave behind? What type of reputation, or what would be my book of deeds when I leave here? What would folks say about me? What would be the legacy that I leave behind? Is it a good one? Is it a bad one? Is it one of being of service, or is it one of being, folks see you say you look better going than you do coming? And so, that's critical for us to know that the footprint that we leave, the legacy that we leave behind, is critical for us in our hereafter. And so that's what everything comes down to. What are we doing? How are we doing? And why are we doing what we do to earn our hereafter?
I got to believe on a daily basis, you run into people that go, man, I was so wrong. I don't know Muslims. I don't know who they are, or know what they are based on how they see you. How often does that happen? It has to happen every day.
No, not really. Not really. I mean, I run into people from all walks of life again, when I was working with the department. You couldn't have the beard then, but folks, knew something was a little different about them, and they asked about Islam. A lot of guys that I work with, guys and girls that I work with, asked about Islam. But now, as I retired from the department, I'm able to grow my beard out, and I've got the henna in the beard. So I really don't run into that quite often. As right. I I really don't have those challenges with folks. Folks, the community that I live in, and where I move around, folks know that I'm Muslim. They know, and a lot of folks have family members who are Muslim. So for the most part, they recognize that and have a lot of respect for that, because they know that the family members that are Muslim, if they're true to their way of life, they know that at least the Muslims are trying to strive to do something good, and they're not ones who are moved for violence, and that's that sort of mentality, because that's not the case for most of the places that I move around here, at least in the city of Milwaukee, in the state of Wisconsin, and as I travel, I just don't get that. It just doesn't happen too often. It may have happened, earlier on, but not in the last 25 years or so. I've never really had that issue. Unless folks
Tommy,
got
it's
some
all
mind made up or something, it's up to them, but not for me. I haven't had that issue.
Tommy, it's all yours.
Well, I'm just sitting here thinking, you talk about a legacy and you live your faith. And the bottom line is going to be that Will Perry has been and will be, for as long as he's here, all about love through service to others. Accurate?
Yes, absolutely. That's right on the money, right on the head. And that's a legacy I'm trying to leave behind, because I know that, for me, I'm going to be held accountable for that. I'm going to be held accountable for that. And so the resources, whether that be the monetary, the physical, spiritual, or the intellectual resources that we're all having, we all given, we want to use that to our advantage, because this is a selfish endeavor, in that we want to make sure that we get the most of the benefit for what we do and the resources that we have and the time that we have. I mean, I see that the journey that you're on here, Tom. I mean, that's a big move from what you were doing before to what you're doing right now. And I commend you on making that transition as well, and being able to include other folks, being a part of your life, and introducing other folks to other various religious walks that other individuals are having. And so I applaud you for that, because it takes some courage to do that. Because some folks, prefer to stay in their own bubble, behind their own walls, and not reach out and try to find out what's going on with the rest of the world and get it from the sources, and being able to educate themselves and their families and their audience or whatever, to having a better understanding, a clearer understanding of what others are doing, what others' lives are like, and their religious and spiritual journey is really all about getting it from the source. And I certainly applaud you and appreciate that.
Well, that's very kind, Brother Will. And I'm just thankful that the Spirit put the idea on Homer's part. He's still doing the sportscasting, and this endeavor has been such a gift. And so has this opportunity to be with you. I think of a comment. There was an offensive lineman, Homer will recall, maybe you do, Brother Will, named Corey Stringer of the Vikings. He passed away, heat stroke or something, years ago. And Brett Favre at the time said, we may wear different uniforms, but we're all members of the same team. And I believe that's the case with you, sir. And it's an honor to be a part of your team, because you are living your faith, and that's a gift to all of us. Great gratitude for that, as well as for your time on My Faith with Homer and Pip.
Thank you. I appreciate the time and giving me the opportunity to share my journey with you and your audience. I certainly appreciate that. It's kind of a first for me in that regard, but I feel comfortable in sharing that story with you, and I hope you'll find it to be of some value.
Absolutely, of great value. Thank you again. Brother Will Perry has been our guest on My Faith with Homer and Pip. For the aforementioned Homer, our producer Brent Young, I'm Tommy Pippins. Thanks again, everybody. May the Lord bless and keep you. Until next time, we are so thankful for each and every one of you, and pray that this opportunity to listen to Brother Will Perry has helped you in your own faith journey. Take good care.
Thank you.